Last year for Halloween, I looked at 2 of the Real Ghostbusters Halloween episodes, so now let's look at their third and final one. Which was actually their second. Or was it second and a half?
Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call?
Halloween 2.5. I sure do remember watching this one as a kid. Though it's one I tried to kind of retcon in my head as being a Lorenzo Music episode, and I think I tried to pretend the story was much more exciting than it really was. Oh, and I certainly tried to forget that certain characters were even in it that much. Maybe I don't really remember watching this one. As Halloween 2.5 was part of ABC's second season, it aired while the syndicated episodes were still getting played all the time, so it was a little easier to ignore the random bad episodes like this, since most of the time I was still watching the good stuff. This Halloween episode is kind of a sequel to When Halloween Was Forever, as it features the return of Sam Hain. And I'm just gonna say Sam Hain this time, whatever, I don't care anymore. Halloween 2.5 was written by the husband-wife writing team of Pamela Hickey and Dennis McCoy.
I'm Pamela Hickey.
And I'm Dennis McCoy. And
we always said, what if Slimer came back to life? What would he look like?
Right.
We actually pitched one like that once.
Every year that we worked on the Ghostbusters, we pitched the idea that Slimer becomes a human man.
Slimer coming back to life. Interesting, but I don't know about that one. They wrote 9 episodes of The Real Ghostbusters, 5 of which were from the syndicated run and the others during the neutered ABC junk. They also wrote some Slimer episodes! So, unsurprisingly, when they weren't being held back by the stupid network, they were able to write some more off-the-wall stories.
Writing-wise, this was one of the most conservative.
Yeah.
Of your episodes?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, definitely.
One of their episodes, The Devil to Pay, had the Ghostbusters have to be on a game show in hell.
You've signed on for my new game show, and if you lose this one, you lose your souls.
I have sold my soul to the devil. I have sold my soul to the devil.
Actually, Winston, Dib is a minor demon, not the devil per se.
I have sold my soul to a minor demon. I have sold my soul to a minor demon.
It's all up to you, Mr. Zedmore. Hang in there, Winston. Don't lose your cool.
Any O's?
Not a single one. Your choice, Mr. Zedmore.
Sorry, I just wanted to include some funny Winston moments, cause guess how many he gets in Halloween 2.5? Also, funny enough, Sam Hain makes a cameo appearance in The Devil to Pay. Guess Pamela Hickey and Dennis McCoy were fans of this character, as it was Joe Straczynski who originated him.
You fought him last year, and now he's back for a grudge match.
Hey, that actually kind of sets up Halloween 2.5. If it was actually a story centered around the real Ghostbusters. Because, nah, instead we get to follow the damn Junior Ghostbusters through a large part of this episode. Oh, but don't worry, guys. Slimer pals around with them through most of it, too. And Sam Hain is supposed to be the villain of this episode?
They're the kid-relatable element
Right.
that they wanted to do. If you're a kid watching this, you're supposed to be able to fantasize that this is you with the Ghostbusters.
Which is flawed thinking, because if you can remember back to when you were a kid, were you interested in being like the kid that talked to the Lone Ranger, or were you interested in being the Lone Ranger?
Well, they said it, and I can certainly say as a kid, I never pretended to be one of those little junior shitters. I always wanted to be Peter Venkman. Well, I can say that there are some pretty decent visuals in this episode, even if here it's to introduce the horribleness that is Slimer and the Junior Ghostbusters. Just when you thought Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters was as bad as it could get. For as much crap as I give the Junior Ghostbusters, this was actually one of their only appearances on the show proper. They actually only made 2 more, and one was just a clip show. It's weird all these Q5 ideas kept not taking off. I thought they knew what kids wanted.
ABC had a group called Q5, which was part of the Rand Corporation, which had a lot of studies about what kids wanted. But as you said, if you go into a focus group and you have children and you're the adult there, you can pretty much get a kid to say anything you want them to say.
Especially if you torture them with Coulier Vankman. So, on the one hand, this does make a bit of sense to show kids trick-or-treating on Halloween, but then on the other, you've got 3 kids running around New York only being watched over by a simple-minded dead guy. Also, why would Slimer be with these kids anyway? Why would the Ghostbusters think that'd be a good idea? Oh yeah, it's brain-dead Coulier Vankman now. Slimer probably told him it was a good idea and he said, "Whatever you say, Spud, you're in charge." What kid would be happy about that? Well, that breaks my suspension of disbelief. I do kind of like the joke, though, of Slimer being dressed up as a crappy ghost. Then we do get a nice little bit of continuity from when Halloween was forever, as the 2 goblins that unleashed Samhain in that episode have showed up here again to release him once more. Unless, of course, Sleuth Slimer figures them out. He notices that they don't eat the candy that the Junior Jerks give them, meaning only one thing: goblins.
Slimer, I gave that candy to those kids.
This is what makes the Junior Idiots so relatable to kids. How dumb they are.
Goblins! Aw, come on. Real goblins?
He says to a real ghost. Probably should have been a joke in there. Instead, they just have the junior losers act like there's no way that could have been real goblins because that's far too unbelievable for the little doofuses that idolize a group that catches things like them on a regular basis. When do the Ghostbusters actually show up? Guess what? It's not until over 4 minutes into this episode that the real Ghostbusters even show up, and then they're just throwing a party for the Losers Club. And yes, it was apparently specifically for them, as they weren't partying and instead all hiding to surprise them. And since the Junior Twits were just out trick-or-treating and not on their way to the firehouse first until Slimer insisted they followed the goblins there, how long were they all just sitting around in the dark for?
We knew it was you all the time. Well, we tried to scare you, but the Junior Ghostbusters are just too smart.
And now Janine is endorsing the Junior Ghostbusters. Her transition to the dumb side is now complete.
Let's party! Okay, hit it, wartmongers!
Why is anything happening right now?
Slimer, the song is over. Slimer? Huh? The song is over.
Well, I'm not one to usually defend Slimer during this era of the show, but that song was like less than 10 seconds, so I don't blame him for thinking it wasn't done yet.
You wild and crazy ghost, you!
Yes, thanks for derailing the plot for a little to show off your lack of personality, new style Janine. Slimer then remembers the little issue with the goblins.
The goblins?
Apparently, they had forgotten the plot too and were just partying it up, so maybe if Slimer hadn't have done anything, they wouldn't have remembered old Samhain. But with them now heading towards the containment unit, Slimer's gotta tell the Ghostbusters. Oh, did you think you'd tell the real Ghostbusters? Don't be silly. Why tell the actual heroes when there's annoying kids in the room to tell instead? You know, I'd never say Slimer was smart, but come on, even he's better than this.
Well, maybe they went in by mistake and the door locked after them.
This is the insight that made it worth getting children on the job. You know, I do kind of wonder about Slimer's sheet and Groucho glasses being able to phase through the walls with him, but that kind of leads to the confusing fact that food stays inside him in the cartoon, and we're gonna have an even larger leap in Slimer phasing logic later. Anyway, good thing Slimer opted not to tell the people that might actually be able to stop this, and instead some useless idiots that stand outside the door doing nothing. This complete shutdown causes the containment unit to blow via the movie. However, this time,
I'm afraid I just blew myself. There's got to be a better way to say that.
The Ghostbusters really have bad luck with the containment unit exploding on Halloween, don't they?
Samhain.
You didn't actually think you could keep Samhain, the spirit of Halloween, locked up forever, did you, Ghostbuster?
Well, yeah, actually we did.
Okay, that was actually funny, and Coulier didn't screw the delivery up. I guess I'll actually have to give him props on that one. I'm gonna go throw up now.
Then you are fools.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
Tonight, I shall bring about Halloween Eternal.
Well, that's new. Then one of the most memorable and kind of confusing parts of this episode happens as Samhain transforms the firehouse into a weird supernatural tower. Now, I have always thought that this was kind of cool and a different way to completely take away the Ghostbusters' home base. But I've also always wondered how exactly Samhain pulled this off. Samhain does have some fantastic powers like his little time freezing, but if he could just do something like this on his own, why didn't he do that the first time instead of just hanging out on a roof? Maybe with all the energy from the containment unit explosion he is able to do this or something? I just feel like the episode could have used at least a line to try and explain it a little, but then we might have had to cut an inane Junior Ghostbuster line. That would have been a real tragedy. Also, you'd think if all the ghosts just escaped the containment unit, there'd be a little more chaos around New York, but they don't particularly act like it. Anyway, they try to scare Samhain off with a little light show, but he's got his light shields up.
Nothing but the spirits of the night may enter my fortress.
Let's blast them!
So not even light got through my barrier, but you thought your proton streams would. You're far dumber than I ever imagined, Ghostbusters. And that was another brilliant Coulier-Venkman plan.
I think we should get the heck out of here!
Oh, come on, Ray. Dingo can say hell.
What the hell is going on here?
Quick, take off before Peter gets in! Ah, darn, we almost lost him. So we do get the Ghostbusters using an ecto-roof blaster and a multi-trap system on these ghosts that were chasing them, which is pretty cool. But of course, this episode has to counter anything good going on with your pointless reminder that there are children at play.
This is really exciting. Yeah, too exciting.
Too exciting? Oh man, I was wrong. These episodes still have great jokes for adults too.
But catching Samhain is gonna be a big job, guys. You need some experienced help.
And here we are, a bunch of fluffernutters.
You were defeated by 4 mortals.
Why, I never. Except for my previous outing with the Ghostbusters. And probably whoever locked me up in that supernatural closet before that. You know what? Let's forget I said anything.
This waiting is making me totally crazy.
And constantly cutting back to you little brats is driving me crazy.
Donald, will you cool out?
Well, if it isn't the leader of the Wiener Patrol, boning up on his nerd lessons.
And now we get the even more insulting stupid part of seeing the Enjoyment Busters wearing their jumpsuits. They're just as cool as Zack the Fifth Turtle.
I knew that spirit detector would come in handy?
It's a mobile for a crib. How does that detect spirits? Or do these idiots think every time something blows the air around their room that it's a ghost? Guess that seems about right for them.
It's Samhain! If they're all up there, then the temple is empty!
Did you guys somehow get a head count for all the ghosts that were in there? That seems like a bit of a leap, but whatever, go get killed. I'm not gonna talk you out of it.
We're the Junior Ghostbusters, and we're not afraid of no ghost!
Remember, there are people out there that thought this was fixing the show. At least they remembered my favorite thing about Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters Power Rings.
Maybe we should call the real Ghostbusters.
No, that'd make too much sense. Who wants to see the real Ghostbusters when they tune into the real Ghostbusters? Please, show me some more kid shenanigans.
You'll notice that the body of the Junior Ghostbusters car is PVC piping. Because they don't want kids to pick up hammers and nail things, and they don't want them to pick up screwdrivers or drills or anything like that. But again, you know, this is a cartoon, so nobody really built this. So
sometimes I'm surprised Q5 didn't get them to change the proton beams into Ghostbuster Care Stairs, which just made them all friends.
Look at this, everybody. It's the cosmic shape of Samhain's fortress that gives it all that power.
Oh, Egon, that's absolutely brilliant! But what's it mean?
Don't ask me. I'm just a girl.
Man, that was stupid even for Q5, Janine.
Yeah, just tell us how we get back in there and blast Mr. Pumpkinseed back where he came from.
Just call me Johnny Pumpkinseed. I wonder if I could sell Ecto-1 for some magic seeds. That was the same character, right? Just kidding. I'm not that dumb. I know that it's really Peter Pumpkin Eater. Who's me? I'm gonna eat something. Sorry, I really shouldn't put dumb lines in Peter's mouth. Because I really don't need to.
We changed the shape of the fortress, and it'll collapse upon itself.
Egon, who cut your hair?
The Diaper Patrol tries their grand storming of the fortress, which immediately results in failure as they get chased off by the goblins and have to throw pumpkins at them. I tell ya, this is classic Ghostbusters right here. Whoa, the Junior Ghostbusters have their pumpkin victory, but then Samhain gets them. Their failure is now complete.
I need more precise information about Samhain's fortress. Slimer is going in.
You know, if this episode already hadn't have spent a bunch of time on Slimer and his stupid kid buddies, I might not have that much of an issue with them having Slimer do this whole espionage mission, but this is really getting to be overkill at this point.
You're very brave, Slimer.
Do I even really need to say anything?
We're counting on you, Slimer.
Hang in there, Slimer.
Be careful in there, Spud.
Holy crap, we're barely getting any actual Ghostbusters in this episode, and then once we actually do, they fill one of their scenes with them all just jerking Slimer off. We get it. You want people to hate the show. Move on. They don't, though, as they keep cutting back to the Ghostbusters for lines like this.
I hope you'll be all right.
All Slimer is doing is flying through the air at this point. Man, I hate whoever this stupid lie of a Janine is. Again, the stuff with the fortress is probably some of the more interesting material in the episode, and I'd even take following Slimer at this point over the annoying children. Spymer's mission goes alright until he crashes into a Samhain statue that for some reason is in the middle of a hallway. Was that part of the firehouse reshaping, or did Samhain immediately have some people go to work on in-the-way statues? I guess crashing into that is a clear sign that Slimer's a spy, too. They chase him down some really long corridors, and at this point I just start thinking about how I don't believe that the firehouse was actually this large beforehand. Maybe it's a supernatural TARDIS fort.
Oh no! Slimer!
Were they just trying to make that fake Janine's catchphrase at this point?
Oh no, Slimer!
We failed to capture the Ghostbusters.
But then again, we didn't try very hard. We just kind of flew around the city, didn't see them, and then went back home.
Slimer, zoom in on that stone with the writing on it. That's it. That's the keystone. It marks the dead center of where our containment unit used to be.
You know, I might get that a little more if the tower even kind of remotely matched the firehouse's geometry. But why would Egon know that a certain stone in there marks where the containment unit used to be? I can't imagine that was in Tobin's spirit guide.
Concentrate our beams here, and the fortress will collapse.
Or it'll turn back into the containment unit as we're blasting it and cause an even worse explosion.
Listen to me, Ghostbusters. Surrender. You're with the Ghostbusters.
I already knew that, though, from the time I smelled human stink on you. I'm getting worse at this. Then they just somehow zap some of the ghosts, and Janine uses Ecto's proton cannon and shoots in the window at the keystone. Did Slimer's minor annoyance cause Samhain to drop the shield? I mean, I just don't get why now the proton streams are getting through. Also, yeah, she shoots the beam upwards through the window, aka not at all where the containment unit would be. Nothing about this has any logic to it. So, let's just completely throw logic out the window!
You want to slime us? Why? So we can pass through the wall just like ghosts.
Remember all the times Peter got slimed and then he just started phasing through things? Maybe if there was a line about this working because it's a supernatural structure or something, I could let this go, but they just act like Slimer's slime doing this is a thing. But now it's time for the big battle with Samhain! Just kidding, Janine shines the lights on him and he gets sucked up with his tower. Into the containment unit? Maybe? This was kind of a waste of Samhain in the end, despite the fact he had something interesting going on with the transformed firehouse. There's just a lot of good ideas here not executed very well because they are drowned out by the bad ideas eating up the runtime. Anyway, luckily for the Ghostbusters, the firehouse repairs itself too, or else this would have been quite the costly job. Much like the Junior Ghostbusters being costly to the credibility of the series. They didn't even provide anything useful. I mean, I wouldn't want them saving the day or anything because that'd be even more insulting, but they could have provided like something through the eyes of a child which could have helped Egon come to a conclusion he hadn't thought of. Kind of like those kids in the first Boogeyman episode. I don't know, I mean, just something useful. Or you could just not had them in it. That would have been better. Then maybe this episode could have actually spent some time with the real Ghostbusters.
Wait, listen.
I don't hear anything, Peter.
Well, that's what I mean. It's quiet. Beautifully, relaxingly quiet.
Just like New York would be. Especially after that happening. Anyway, then the Junior Ghostbusters died and woke up on the Slimer show. I bet they wish they got to be on a game show in hell instead.
Seem too friendly. These monsters seem so fake. My nerves, they're gonna break. Please don't let me down. You need to be around to grab that running one up and blast that scene.
And when Slimer's not around, people should be asking, where's Slimer? I wonder what Slimer might be up to. And the people asking those questions should be the Junior Ghostbusters. Just make sure to use the real Ghostbusters as little as possible. Perfect!